maybe I go like that band. That band would be all right. This band, oh my God, that guy died. All right, so we can't do that. And then I look at it and I'm like, all right, I'll go back to it. And a dear friend of mine every year says, going to M3, going to M3. And I looked at the schedule about 2 weeks ago, and the great folks at IMP and Merriweather and Gene and everybody I love down there. And I looked up, and on Friday night at M3, May 3rd, night before the Kentucky Derby, the night of the Kentucky Oaks, my main man, Chip Znuff, and the bad boys from Chicago, Illinois are coming in to kick off M3. I can't think of a better band than my friends Getting High on a New Thing, Fly High Michelle, Chip Znuff. How can I come to Merriweather Post Pavilion and give you a hug on May 3rd? What's going on, brother?
Are you kidding me? I can't wait to see your beautiful mug, bro. It's going to be a great event. M3, it's part of our fabric now. It's been going for a long time, and there's a lot of great bands on there. It's wonderful for the city of Baltimore to get all these bands on a 3-day venue. I think it's going to be incendiary.
You know what, man? So I know this about you because we've been friends for 30 years. We had some fun together. We went to baseball games together. We saw Nolan Ryan pitch at Memorial Stadium together back in the 80s. But I'll say this. You are opening that night for the band that we call the Baltimore Beatles. And I know what a Beatles fan you are and were and will always be. And everything you've ever done has been because you heard those 3 chords and the Beatles. But the Baltimore Beatles, the Kix band, Kix and Steve Whiteman, my dear friend and one-time vocal coach. This is true, Chip. My voice back in the 90s when I was doing radio, I had the pots wrong and I was screaming on the radio and I was getting, by Friday I couldn't talk on the air. And Steve gave me all of these vocal things, la 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 la, and hydration and throat coat and tea and all these things that you rock stars know how to do and sing from the diaphragm and sit up straight and not talk from your throat but talk from your gut. And Steve Whiteman did that for me. So rock and roll saved my career back in the 90s, and I owe it all to Whiteman. So you know where I'm going to be on Friday, May 3rd? I'm going to be in the pit getting high on a new thing with you guys, man.
I would too, and I'm surprised Whiteman didn't show up with a bottle of Jack Daniels and an ounce of cocaine, because that's how it was in the old days.
Come on now. I mean, he wrote songs like that about the back of the van and a case of cold Heineken. Yeah, absolutely, man.
No, I love Steve Whiteman. He's a great singer. Coincidentally, going back a little bit, in the early days, I had a band together with Ronnie Oakums and Desi Rex from DeMalls. We were putting together a group before Enuff Znuff and before Kix. This is late 70s, early 80s, so it's funny how things come full circle. I'm a huge Kix fan. We've opened for them before on shows. The band is absolutely incredible live. They bring it every single night. They never mail it in. And that's just a real strong band with solid songs. And it's an honor for Enuff Znuff to be opening for Kix. We get along great. I think the fans are going to love it. This isn't our first time through a rodeo. It's going to be a really great party. Hopefully it'll be like an outdoor mini Woodstock without the mud.
Well, you know what? I got a lot of ground to cover with you, so I hope we got a little bit of time. We're going to go through this. The kids call this podcasting, Chip. You and I used to call it like Animal Sports Radio meets Howard Stern. You guys would come in. I'd smell of various things wafting and play. This is the 80s, man. It was Hammer Jacks, for crying out loud. But I just want to go back into the Wayback Machine with you and how all of this began and where you are right now, because some people would say, Chip Znuff, that's the guy with the peace symbol, and I remember that, man. That was a great song. Fly 6 o'clock in the morning. So everybody remembers the songs, but they say, what happened? Where are the bands? And people that are a little out of the loop, maybe haven't been to an M3. What I would say about all these bands, you say like Kix brings it every night, and there are no sort of over-the-hill bands anymore, right? Like the bands that are still out doing it, my guys from Styx, and I know your relationship and JY, and you introduced me to those guys and the guys in Cheap Trick, now in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Def Leppard, I was up in New York. I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony a couple weeks ago up in New York, and I saw The Cure going and all these bands, but all of the bands that are out doing it 80, 100, 150 nights a year, there's something about those bands that, to me as a 50-year-old, it's special to me, Chip, to be able to go out on a Friday night and hear the songs that I heard 30 years ago at Hammerjacks. It really is. It means something to me.
It means a lot to me, too, as well, Nestor. And I remember Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick saying to me, listen, Chip, we're not all built to do this, but the ones that are, better go out and do it all the time. You can't stop. If you own a tour bus and you let it sit there for a couple of months and then take it out, it's going to break down. You got to continue to play all the time. And those bands you just mentioned,
wow,
they're still carrying the torch right now. And I don't know how long these guys have left. Look at the Stones. After all these years, still doing it. And from rumor it has it that they're going to be back on and going into rehearsals in a couple of months, and they're going to go out and finish this tour. And Kiss, 3 years out there. It's really.
By the way, my wife has never seen Kiss. Okay, I mean the first time I saw Kiss with the makeup, and dude, I was around all you guys in the '80s. I mean, one day my wife or someone will go around to all of you, literally all of you, the 50 of you that I used to hang out on tour buses and backstage. My wife doesn't believe it until she meets you guys and we're like family. She's like, how the hell do you know these guys like this? I said, man, Chip picked me up in a limo at Harbor Court where I live, and we went to 33rd Street with all sorts of liquor and poker, and Lord knows what was going on with fishnets and leather and lace and feathers and boas and rock and roll, and we went out to see Nolan. And so all these years later, Hammerjacks and the legend of all this stuff. But for bands to still do it, this is the weekend for anybody that's a Hammerjacks person, right? That was of this era. Can I read some of the bands? Is that all right, Chip, to promote all these bands? Because Black and Blue and Kicks, that's Friday with Chip. White Snake, I want to go Saturday for sure. Autograph, Danger Danger, Firehouse, Kingdom Come, LA Guns, Warrant, and Tora Tora. And then on Sunday, and they've done this a little different. Sometimes it's been some country rock. This time we're going straight in. Dokken, Bang Tango, Extreme, Skid Row, Vane, Vixen, Vince Neil, the Motley Crue Vince Neil, the real Vince Neil, and XYZ. That's a hell of a weekend, dude. I mean, seriously, you probably don't want to get on a bus and leave, right?
Well, I'm calling that a celebration of life. That's exactly what it is. All those bands together. Collectively, all those bands together have sold about 200 million records. They really have. Take a look, okay? It's very simply... You can find it anywhere you want.
Go start with Motley Crue and Whitesnake. Just begin with that, and then we'll move from there, right?
Well, yeah, you can't go wrong there. Every band in there has done very, very well. And for all of us to get together, because we tour all year, for all of us to get together and burn the candle at both ends, it's very special. It's going to be a great rock and roll party, not only at the gigs, but at the hotel afterwards. Are you kidding me? I'm going to see Adler there, too. Remember, I played with Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses for years. I used to live in his house with him. He drove me crazy playing cartoons 24/7 a day. So to have him on stage with me hanging out, it doesn't get any better than that for me. This is a wonderful event. Like I said, a celebration of life for people, not only in Baltimore, but for everybody that's coming from all around the world to see this wonderful festival.
Chip Znuff, my main man, here from Enuff Znuff. You can find him anywhere. Chip sells it out on Twitter and the web. And if you love the band, if you've ever loved the band, if you remember the songs, if you love the songs, come on out. So I want to say this. I mean, I've known you a long time, and I'm as close with you as any of the friends I have in music that I've kept and maintained in my life. I mean, the guys from the Smithereens and I are very close, and we lost Pat Denizio a couple years ago. I know you've lost people in the rock and roll family, and you know it's a hard life, and we can kid about it and look back on it. We probably all did things that weren't so good for us at various points or weren't so wise. But you mentioned Rick Nielsen, and one of the things that, and I know, I mean, the reason I know him is because of you and Tom Peterson, and you guys had the same techs and the same roadies and the same all this stuff. But the wisdom of Rick Nielsen telling you when you were young, dude, put the cocaine over there, put the weed over there, put the whiskey, put the girls, whatever, you need to feed your family. And I remember the guys in Rush. I'm a big Rush fan. And, they did the 3-hour documentary and the Tom Petty documentary and the Eagles documentary. I mean, these are all just these incredible stories of the real, of what it was really about. And I always tell my wife, my life was a little bit like the movie Almost Famous, because I was so young and, it was so much fun, and it was you were very lured in. But all these years later, you had wisdom, right? And the guys in Kiss gave the guys in Rush the wisdom of, hey, guys, it's a business. Stay sober. Watch your money. You know what I mean? Take care of yourself. Take care of your body. Take care of your voice. That's, this is a bit, you need to survive. And along the way, man, a lot of people didn't get the message, right? I mean, part of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll is we lose a lot of people. To your point, all you guys have made it this far to be able to do what you love all these years later. But, man, it really is an incredible journey to keep a band together, especially bands like Rush that never went on stage with anybody but those three dudes. You two. Nobody but those four dudes. Man, that's a really incredible thing when you say that about any of these bands that have held it together.
Well, I'll tell you, I seen in the early days, I got a chance to see Rush because they had opened for everybody in those early days, and especially on the first couple of records. Crush of Steel, I caught him on that second tour. They were absolutely incredible. That's when Neil Peart just joined.
Where did you see them? You were a Chicago kid, so like, what kind of venues were they playing?
They played a small room, held about 1,500 people, maybe 2,000 people. It was called Beginnings. It was in Schaumburg, Illinois.
Wow.
And Neil Peart just joined the band. They were on the Crush of Steel tour. The band was absolutely incredible. I was 15 years old. I had to have a fake ID to get in there, and I sat on a telephone booth that was inside. We used to have telephone booths, folks, before cell phones. And I sat on top of the telephone booth and watched that whole show, and they were absolutely incredible. And I realized, watching all the bands, the Kisses and the Aerosmiths and the Cheap Tricks of the world, this business is predicated on friendships and relationships. That's what it's about. And it starts with the songs. If you got good songs and you get a break, because there's a lot of kids in the basement right now trying to hone their chops and get ready to get out there for the next run. It's all about working all the time, coming up with great songs, and then going out there and playing it to your best of your abilities. And if you're on the stuff all the time, and we were all guilty of that, everybody. I don't think Rush was that bad. They drank a little bit and had some trim. But for the most part, a lot of the other bands out there, they were burning the candle at both ends. And we were doing everything. We'd tour together in buses. We'd follow each other around. I remember in the early days, I was out with Nelson, the young guys, Nelson. They had a bunch of hit songs.
That was the Milk and Cookies tour. I was on stage at Merriweather that night with you guys, man.
Yeah, we took that tour because we were supposed to go out with Motley Crue, and then they changed their mind and ended up taking out Faster Pussycat. And we said, okay, that's fine with us. We're going to find a tour. And I went to a show at Irving Plaza in New York, and Nelson was there. At the end of the show, I said hi to the guys, and they go, yeah, what are you guys doing now? I said, we're looking for a tour. They go, come on out with us. And a week later, we're on a tour bus following around Guns N' Roses and Skid Row. They'd play a venue. The next day, we'd pull in with our buses. We'd play the venue. And it was just wonderful, a nonstop partying. And it was a great time for us. It was a wonderful time in rock and roll. Nowadays,
by the way, it's a great backstage experience, a memory that I have to prove you that I was there, all right? Merriweather that night, you guys went out on stage and did Surrender with Nelson at the end of the show.
Yeah, we thought we could perhaps bamboozle the crowd thinking it was our song. At that time, we had quite a few records out, and we had plenty of songs to play, but we've always paid respect to our forebears, and Cheap Trick's no exception. Great band. It wasn't just about the Beatles for Enuff Znuff. We like all kinds of stuff, and especially over the pond. We growing up listening to Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and Queen. Those were and Bowie. Those are great bands. And a huge Mott the Hoople fans. We liked underground groups too, the Squeeze. I always looked at Enuff Znuff like a band that was not a one-trick pony, where we had pop, rock, heavy metal. It all mixes together, and it's a nice potpourri. And that's what we're going to be bringing to the M3 Festival, my friend, on the weekend. You don't expect to see guys just mailing it in. It's going to be a nonstop hour show of bashing out not only the hits, but stuff off our new record as well.
Tell me about the new record. Tell me about the writing, the artist in you, right? Like, you write these songs 30 years ago, and, I sort of remember, like, when Billy Joel just said, I just don't want to write pop songs anymore. I'm just done. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm changing in my life and what I want to talk about and what I want to focus on, and it might not be the baseball team anymore at 50. It might be Baltimore and making the city better and talking about different things. I think as a writer of songs for you, it's almost like being an artist, whether anybody's buying it. You want people to buy it, you want them to love it, but it's what you do. It's you get out of bed and you write. I mean, I'm a writer as well. It's a form of expression that when you create these songs, you want to bring them to life in front of people, right?
Well, there's plenty of subject matter out there. By the way, I'm still waiting to hear the next Billy Joel rock record. There's so much fodder out there and so many things to write about, that it's whether it's lipstick on a glass or a joint in an ashtray, or just a certain metaphor somebody says to you, trips your trigger. There's a lot of different stuff out there. For us on this new Enuff Znuff album, it's just one continuous thought, to be honest with you. And it's a 70s meets a lo-fi, hi-fi record. Or you go in the studio, it's not about getting on Pro Tools and guys just plugging it into a computer and making everything perfect. We actually played. And these songs were all written from a perspective of not autobiography. It's more like seeing what's happening in the world right now and then putting pen to paper and recording and playing the songs in the same room with everybody. And we got a chance to record at some great studios, not just my place here in Blue Island where I live, but over at Chicago Recording Company. Listen to this, Nestor. I'm in the studio, I'm tracking. You got Pearl Jam upstairs. You got Chance the Rapper and Kanye West in another room with 10 guys with computers. And I'm watching how these guys are making records. You know, one band goes out and plays. They plug in together, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they just and put down the performance. And another artist goes in there and finds parts that are already played and just basically puts them into a blender and tries to find a nucleus there. Some kind of narrative would come up with great songs, and they got a bunch of different team players. And both ways work, but for me, it's old-fashioned. It's 70s meets today. I'm still living in the past. It's about actually getting great performances and going out there and playing the songs as close to the record as possible. And I think we nailed this. The name of the record's Diamond Boy, by the way. It's the first album Enuff Znuff has had that's charted on Billboard charts in almost 30 years.
Congratulations for that, man.
So we actually got a chance. I'm bragging a little bit, but I'm very proud of our accomplishments.
Oh man, listen, hey, survivors. That's what I'm thinking about when I see M3 for any band that's on the road. You talk about the Stones. I mean, they're the holy grail for everybody's chasing that, right? But I mean, for everyone we've lost along the way, and to be able to go out with the bands that you love and still go out and shake your ass and sing kick songs. And by the way, it wasn't cocaine. It was two lewds in The Woman of My Dreams. So every Kicks fan will know that. Chip's Enough is the familiar voice, at least to me, and the voice of Enuff Znuff and rock and roll and the M3, and one of my oldest rock and roll friends and fans and baseball friends, and we see each other in other places. What's that?
Let's not forget, I tried out for the White Sox, Cincinnati Reds, Milwaukee Brewers, Kansas City Royals. I pitched for years.
That was the headline. That's what I wrote about when I met you. Our conversation your publicist called me and said, I got this guy, Chip's Enough. He's got this band. They're playing Hammerjacks. The first time you played Hammerjacks, did you open for some? Give me the. Do you remember that?
I remember going to Hammerjacks, playing a show. Girls were walking around, their scantily clad, showing their chicken baskets and their underpants. The guys in Lemonheads were there, and Kicks. All the different bands showed up there to check out what the new thing was happening. And right after the show, I had to sashay because we got in a van and drove over to Gallaudet University and played another hour-and-a-half set. I'll never forget that, okay? Some wonderful moments there. Baltimore's always been a great place for Enuff Znuff. It's great for rock and roll, period. That's why we have M3 Festival, and I got a shout-out to Eric Baker, who puts us together every single year, and I'm glad that he was actually found room to add Enuff Znuff onto this beautiful festival. But listen, it's a celebration of life. I hope everybody shows up there. I hear it's going to be very well attended.
Well, here's the deal, and you know this a little bit because you've come in and out of these venues. And by the way, it's unbelievable when you say you saw Rush at beginnings because you can go to setlist.com and I can ask you, was that November 7th of 1974 or was that August 26th of 1976, Chip? But I saw you at Merriweather and I stood on the stage with you, and I think I can setlist Nelson Merriweather and tell you exactly what night that was, although I have the ticket stub from 25, 30, whenever it was back in. So it was, it was Willie Nelson. Sorry, I got the wrong one. But Merriweather's changed, man. And you go into these venues now, and Merriweather, they've built a second level. They've made an incredible investment there. And you see what these venues and how rock and roll has changed. And to some degree, every guy like you that's old enough to be a guy like you and still doing this, you have to sort of love gadgets a little bit, right? Because the technology has brought the bands along to where you sound better, look better, play better, all the equipment that's out there. Part of doing this is staying up on all of that, right? It keeps you young to some degree, doesn't it?
Are you kidding me? I just seen the Stones. They're going to be doing a meet and greet every single night. Who would ever think? In the old days, it was never like that. I remember going to see Queen, and I would sit outside at the end of the show in the alleyway because I knew the bands had to get out of the venue somehow. And just get a chance to watch the guys walk out of the back door of the venue, and if they acknowledged you and waved, they gave you the peace sign or whatever, you remember it for the rest of your life. And nowadays, you get a chance to meet these bands. Sometimes it's for a price, sometimes it's not. but it's all about the fans. To me, nothing is more important. Without the fans, there's no discussion right now. So you're going to have 16,000, 17,000 fans at this M3 festival, and a lot of them want to meet their favorite. They don't want to just hear the songs; they want to meet the bands. They want to get a piece of memorabilia to remember that part of history that they got a chance to share with their loved ones. I'm excited about this beyond belief, and I think that the people are going to be very well surprised because a lot of these guys out here, they love the band and they love the fans more than anything. And they're going to come out there and they're going to talk to everybody, and some of them are going to do meet and greets, but for the most part, we'll do a sound check experience maybe. We'll meet everybody at the show, and we'll take time out before and after our performances to shake hands and kiss babies. That's the way Enuff's Enough is. It's never stopped. It's been like that since we put this band together in the early 80s.
Hey, man, I love you. I'm looking forward to seeing you. And I want to say this, man. I booked you on before Chet Kopic left us. And you're a guy from Chicago, Illinois, and you're famously Chicago, and there are a lot of famously Chicago people, right? Like, it is a badge of honor to be from Chicago when you're from Chicago. And when I got to Chicago 20 years ago, and I had known you a decade at that point, I met Chet Kopic coming out of the men's room at Sporting News Radio. I guess it was 101 Sports on Techney Road in Northbrook, Illinois, on a Saturday morning in August of 1999. And, I knew who Chet Kopic was. I mean, he's a legend, you know what I mean? And he took me in from the minute he met me, and I would tell you we knew each other all our lives. He was that kind of guy. Yeah. And I know you know him through Mancow and the work that he did, but you also knew him as a long-haired hippie kid playing baseball as well as playing the bass and being involved in music because you love sports, and you're of the era where Chet Kopic's probably the first thing you ever heard on the radio about sports, right?
Yeah, he's iconic, bro. Everybody is heartbroken that we lost Chet, but he leaves a legacy behind for all of us. I remember him saying to me early in the morning one time, "Don't forget, make sure you eat your breakfast every morning." I thought that's a strange statement, but he was right. He knew that those shows getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning were super difficult. Mancow loved him beyond belief, and he's a staple. He'll be in the Hall of Fame forever, I think, because the indelible mark that he's left can never be duplicated. He's one of a kind.
He is. Chip's Enough. Enuff's Enough. Come on out, see him at M3. They're going to be down at Merriweather. You'll see the changes and the new and improved. And it's just an incredible thing they've done there for being a guy who went down there to see the Cars play on the Heartbeat City Tour in '84. You know what I'm saying, Chip, right? So, hey, man.
Oh, I was on that tour. I seen that tour, bro.
Did you?
Big fan. Love the Cars. Always have. For years after that record came out, we tried to get Roy Thomas Baker to produce one of our records with us, but unfortunately, Roy wants $100,000 and 4 points, so he was a little out of our pay scale. But wow, what a great band!
You know what I want to do with you one night, dude? I just want to trap you someplace. All right? I mean, drug of your choice, pick whatever you want, and that can just be oxygen if you wish, and ice cold water. But I want to sit one day with you and have an iPod competition where you play a song that's 20 years plus old that you love, that maybe I don't know that you would love, because I have a feeling you have this really wide, crazy swath of music. Hey, I'm going to give you a band to go listen to, okay? I'm going to go see this band literally in a couple of hours because we're taping this for M3. I'm seeing a band called Durand Jones and the Indications, okay? It's a 70s blues, early sort of Delphonics-y, sort of Manhattan, OJ's kind of vibe, but totally modern. Bunch of 20-something-year-old dudes from Bloomington, Indiana, laying down these like sort of sweet soul tracks. It's amazing what you can find that younger people in these School of Rock kids, right, out learning Fly High Michelle because it's an awesome song, or learning New Thing because they want to rip it up, or learning Stairway to Heaven like you probably did, right?
Durand Jones, I'll remember the name. I was going to say it's a cover band of Duran Duran and Howard Jones, but I'm mistaken there.
No. That was my cover band called Ridgemont High, and we did some Cars songs. But I mean, I have a feeling like you just have this wide swath of music in your heart and in your soul. I mean, you probably should do a cover band on the side and just play your favorite like 30 or 40 whatever Zeppelin song, just because it would be fun for you, man. Wouldn't that be a good time?
You could probably make some good money doing it. My grandpa used to say to me, "Son, careful what you wish for." I'm not looking forward to having to play covers, but if it was somebody like the Beatles, I might be
something you loved.
Like
if every night you could walk on stage and play music you love.
It's a catalog of you get to pick out of 250 songs on what you want to play every night. So I like that idea. Hey, there's a band that I want you to check out too. A band called Klaatu. You like the Beatles? You'll love them. Klaatu, K-L-A-T-T-U-U, I think it is.
All right.
Check them out on the internet. They're a really good band, and they're no longer together right now, but wonderful records. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, and you'll think it's the Beatles.
All right, I just Googled it up, and I'm going to find it, and love you. See you Derby weekend, and let's go rock and roll, all right? I mean, you got to stick around with me and do a little dance into the Kicks band, all right? We should watch Whiteman do it together, because to me, he is so top. He's the gold standard of how to do it age appropriately at this point in your life and do it as well as you've ever done it, which is hard for all of us as we age, right? Literally.
Nestor, there's going to be Whitesnake and Adler from Guns N' Roses and the guys in Doc, and everybody's coming in early, bro. So on Friday night, it's going to be packed with rock stars over there. Everybody hanging out, and they're not working that night. So great chance for the fans to run into their favorite artists.
You're going to give me a backstage pass so I can be like, oh, I'm with Chip. I'm with the band.
Of course you are. You're coming back. You're going to be in my trailer with me smoking pot.
Oh, here we go. Chip, love you, man. I'll see you next Friday, all right?
Love you, Nestor. I'll see everybody over at M3 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. It's going to be incendiary. Bring your peace signs and paisleys. Hopefully, like I said earlier, it'll be an outdoor mini Woodstock. Once again, too, thanks to the people over at M3 Festival for putting this all together, most notably Eric Baker. And by the way, if you get a chance to see Eric, don't touch him, because if he falls over, he'll break his neck 7 or 8 times.
I'm going to be nice to everybody I meet and greet them with peace and love. We'll see you Enough's Enough. M3 Festival, the weekend of May 3rd. Lots of good bands, lots of good booze, and probably a story or two. And if not, it'll remind you of a story or two. Love the band. What can I say? Always great to catch up with Chip and tell some stories. One day we'll do that on Facebook Live and somewhere where, I don't know, things happen on the rock and roll circuit. What can I say? It was the 80s. I don't remember. Nasty at WNST.net, Facebook Live, Twitter, let's see, Snapchat, Instagram, anywhere rock and roll travels, we'll be there. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking sports and rock and roll and Baltimore positive and getting high on a new thing.